China publicly reacted to the expiration of the US and Russia New START nuclear arms control treaty, which formally ended this week after more than 50 years of limits on the world's two biggest nuclear arsenals. Beijing called the treaty vital to global strategic stability and said its expiration was regrettable. At the same time, China urged the US to engage with Russia and find a responsible way forward, effectively warning Washington not to let the nuclear arms control framework collapse. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson rejected calls for Beijing to join any trilateral arms control negotiations with the US and Russia, despite international pressure, saying China's nuclear arsenal is smaller and its strategy defensive. New START capped deployed strategic nuclear weapons for the US and Russia. With it gone, there are no legally binding limits on the two largest nuclear powers for the first time since the 1970s. China's statement plays into concerns that a wider nuclear arms race could emerge. China's defense of the treaty, even though it was not a party, signals Beijing sees value in preserving at least some constraints on US Russian nuclear competition, which also affects regional and global strategic stability. In parallel, China's Xi Jinping has issued strong warnings to the US regarding Taiwan, calling it the most important issue in Sino-US relations. Remarks that analysts say could have implications for stability in the region and raise fears about escalation, especially given both powers' nuclear capabilities. China's nuclear arsenal has been growing rapidly over recent years, and with US and independent estimates suggesting it could expand toward about 600 warheads or more, with projections of faster growth through the decade. China's official nuclear policy stance claims a no first-use policy on nuclear weapons, meaning it pledges not to initiate a nuclear strike under any circumstances, says its nuclear force is maintained at the minimum level necessary for national security and not intended to trigger an arms race. What Beijing hasn't agreed to: joining the US and Russia in new negotiated nuclear limits immediately, committing to any timetable for arms control discussions involving trilateral or broader nuclear reduction. Bottom line, China's warning isn't a direct nuclear threat in the sense of saying it will use nuclear weapons against the US. Instead, it is a strategic diplomatic statement emphasizing that the collapse of existing nuclear arms control frameworks is destabilizing, urging US-Russia engagement, and clarifying Beijing's own position while continuing to expand its nuclear capabilities. That's raising concerns among analysts about a potential new phase of major power nuclear competition.